In 1606, Caravaggio killed a man named Ranuccio Tomassoni. Centuries later, Pablo Picasso became widely known not just for his genius in art, but for his tumultuous, often cruel and manipulative relationships with the women in his life. And yet, we still study them, and we admire them and call them masters of the art. We hang their work in museums, teach their techniques, and place them at the foundation of modern art. So what do we do with that contradiction? What happens when brilliance and brutality exists in the same person? Can we separate the art from the artist, or does every brushstroke carry the weight of the hand that made it? That's what we're going to be exploring today, and by we, I mean myself, and my good friend and fellow artist, MK Gibson. Welcome back to another Butcher Shop. Can we separate the art from the artist, or does the art carry the weight of the hand that made it? And that's kind of what I want to explore today, because I was working on a paladin. Obviously, this is a paladin cat. And I figured paladins are all for good. So I wanted to sort of explore the topic of good and evil for a bit. So what are your thoughts?
All right, so my thoughts. Separating the art from the artist, is it possible? Is that basically the crux of the question?
Yes.
Yes and no. And that's the most cop-out answer on the planet. But I stick with me for a second. I believe it is possible because people forget that, for example, like you said, you brought up like Caravaggio, you brought up Picasso, you bring up these people that of history, of antiquity, because in my head, Picasso, I mean, he died in my lifetime, it's like, his name is always remembered in such an antiquated way that, Rembrandt and etc. People have been dead for hundreds of years, but it's so far in the past that you kind of almost say, well, that was a thing of the times. I can't forgive it, but I understand it, but I appreciate the art of now. Whereas if it happens today, it's too fresh. It's too new. It's much harder to forgive. And we have a way of forgiving the past because it's the past. But when you ascribe modern values, when you're looking at the past will always lose. You can't, because you can't say well, we know now that slavery is bad, obviously. But then if you look at the past and say, well, but my favorite artist had slaves, or this person I had they should have known better. Well, they did this thing at the time, and I'm like, obviously not forgiving slavery, but you cannot look at the past always with a modern lens, because it will always seem wrong. You have to bear the weight of both the art and the artist at the same time. So that's why I have a yes/no answer to that. It's a very long and complex. Yes, you can appreciate the art for what it is. What do you think?
Well, the same.
Ditto. Great. Good podcast. We're out in 4 minutes.
Great discussion. This is going to be a very long 20 minutes. No, okay. So I do realize this. If I put this in a modern day context, I am threading thin ice, and it is a very sensitive subject. Okay. So first of all, I want to let everyone know that I try to treat this as respectfully as I can. So by saying certain things that I'm about to say, I'm not pro or against someone or their thoughts. I'm just talking about it by way of exploring the ideas behind it. And the reason I want to preface this is because I'm going to talk about J.K. Rowling for a quick second. I am going to a convention, and the organization very specifically told or asked or ordered vendors not to sell official Harry Potter merch, because they don't support the ideas. We all know where this is coming from. And reading that email, I was kind of shocked, because I was like, what happened to, first of all, it's a free country. Why are you telling me that that's not allowed? At the same time, I do understand where they're coming from, because you also support everyone being who they are, especially at such a fantasy festival where everybody literally can be who and what they are. Now, regardless of, the things Rowling has said at the time, or how she said it, or how she saw it, that doesn't matter for me at the moment. But I do believe there is this sort of good and evil discussion hiding behind this, you see what I'm saying, right?
No, I know where you're going with this, and it is okay. It's always gonna be a sticky wicket, and for any potential audience members who are listening, who feel triggered by this or have a issue with this, please know that this is always from a place of discussion, and not from a place of bigotry or hate or intolerance. And for any future recordings where if one of us ever becomes famous, they find this later and they're like, they said this thing back when. I will put it this way. I was speaking for myself only. I believe that in this case, the art of what Harry Potter did for the fantasy landscape can never be. Well, I'm not saying it can't be repeated, but it's gonna be a long time before it's repeated. As other things have come along, but obviously you had the Percy Jackson series or the Mockingjay, the Hunger Games and things like that. But none of them have been the juggernaut that was Harry Potter, and because it unified people for a period of time, because it's like everybody could like it, everybody could be happy, everybody could find love. And actually what it did do at the time was it really ironically angered more right-wing conservative type people because of potential witchcraft, because of whatever reasons, Dumbledore potentially being a homosexual, and all these type of things. It actually angered the other side. So when the trans movement and the push for it at the time, not push, but as it became more into the cultural zeitgeist, J.K. Rowling has always been a woman of she's like, well, I don't consider myself to be a person who menstruates or something like this. I've always been a woman, and because she'd been fighting as a feminist, fighting for women's rights for however long, and obviously coming from abusive relationships, being pushed down because she was a woman, not being taken seriously because she's a woman, especially in the creative fields. So she has had that identity of not just a creator, but a woman first. So, and this, as some of these movements came along, she felt like this was, she had trans friends, she had certain things, blah, blah, blah. And it's just, I think that she could have been an advocate in a certain way, but unfortunately we, at the time in the space where we were at in the culture of just fandom of generic or general sci-fi fantasy, we were at this, we had a line in the sand type of thing in our hearts, either you're with us or against us. And so there was no room for nuance at that time. And unfortunately, because of that, she decided to go down a different path, and what used to be messages of coexistence and peace kind of started becoming messages of a little bit of on the hate side, or like I will do this just to rile up the further left than me type of people. And it was done out of there was malice and intent, as opposed to what Harry Potter used to stand for. So in moments like that, I can understand why ultimately conventions, things like that, they're businesses. You can slap all the niceties on it. You can slap all the, we are community, and all of that can be true. However, they're not giving away tickets for free. They're trying to make money. The vendors are trying to make money, and they're trying to avoid things that would cause backlash. I mean, and I know that comes from sounds cruel and callous and too capitalistic. However, again, a lot of these artists are not giving it. It's not Banksy. They're not putting up free stuff.
But the thing is, I think they were making a difference between selling official merch, or if you, for example, made fan art, that was allowed.
Fan art is allowed. I mean, you know me. I have a personal pet peeve when people when it comes to fan art, people making money off an IP that's not theirs. Whether that is, I'm not against fan fiction. It's a great way to practice your exercise, but I don't believe in profiting off of it because that's not your IP. And the same thing with hey, this is my version of Pikachu. Great, but that's not your IP. You are making money off something that you did not create. And I understand that's a sticky wicket for some artists.
Let's stick with that one for a second. Because I have thoughts. I always do. But okay, so I want to explore the gray zone here for a second, if you'll allow me.
Sure.
Because what would you consider these medieval drawings that I made? I will post videos on this later on, obviously. But so I'm using traditional manuscripts from the medieval times, and basically, is it fan art? I don't know, but I'm working with it. I'm paying tribute to it, and I'm basically I'm making my own version of Pikachu, but then from medieval characters. So is that fan art or not?
So I'm gonna say, okay. This is not because you're my friend. I'm going to say that at the moment, but I'm saying this with what I believe. What you have done has been inspired by, because you're not drawing Pikachu metaphorically. You are taking things that have existed in the past and add so this is illuminated text. Cool. Illuminated text, and you're changing certain things in medieval, whatever stuff. Maybe you're adding a rat, a cat, whatever. You're using this style to create something new. when you did your Dutch masters, you were doing partial recreations of Dutch artists, but with dragons through your style. So it's kind of like a Pride, Prejudice, and Zombies. You know what I'm saying? You've taken this thing, you're adding just enough of a thing to it. Now that's where that thing dances up on it. The only thing of yours that I ever was like, well, this is where was when you did your Chainsaw Man. It's a great piece.
And I did the Chocobo and Vivi ones as well. Like
right. I forgot about that.
Yeah,
yes. Those are the only ones and again, every artist does that. I'm not saying that that's wrong. I mean, you got to cut your teeth somewhere. Well, I don't think you should be selling something that's not yours at a thing. And I get people do it. Granted, there are many comic artists out there who have how many people have drawn Wolverine? Do they have a license in perpetuity to draw Wolverine or Deadpool? I don't know. And that's where things do get sticky. And I don't have all the answers, but I do know that if you're profiting at a certain point, if you're profiting off something that's not yours, but then you have an argument against, say, AI, which is profiting off of something that took from you, you have to start seeing that it's okay when I do it. You know what I mean? That's where things start to get and again, I don't have the answer. That's every person has to have their own moral compass, litmus test, however it happens. Just like with this topic of being, I I grew up loving Bill Cosby. I loved his comedy styles, his old tapes, his old albums. I had a bunch of them. And then unfortunately, when it came out that he was what he was doing all these essays to women for the years during the 70s and early 80s during his comedy tour, I stopped listening to it. I don't break out the old records or old albums anymore. I don't listen to the jokes anymore that. No,
but at the same time, you also don't regret watching it at the time.
No, I can't. I can't regret it, but it's but I don't go back and I want to well, it's okay that he did what he did, but it's not okay. It's obviously not okay that he did what he did, but right, but at least I liked the Chicken Heart routine from one of his old albums. You get real hard. Sometimes I have to just leave the past in the past. Also, it gives me a moment to say, well, what else is out there? If I'm using this as I've been relying on this particular creator, this particular artist, this particular thing, who else is out there that who's worthy of my time and attention, who hasn't done horrible things? Picasso, my favorite piece of his, I've got a copy of it. I mean, obviously I don't have the original of Guernica.
Oh yeah, Guernica's fantastic. Yeah.
It's one of my all-time favorite pieces, and I have a copy of it on a canvas piece hanging in my house because of this concept of tragedy put through this blue filter of of his style, and
the total madness of what he did. Yeah.
Right, but then to understand that also he was also kind of a Lothario misogynistic asshole on the side, which scares me because not of him, but not most artists, back that up. The truly exceptional ones, the ones who are and whatever that art happens to be, writing, music, they are so far beyond what we see as human beings. It's not that they are on the higher scale, higher IQ. They are just a separate breed of human being because they are geared to do that thing, that whatever reason genetics said, you're going to be this, and you were born to do it. And when that happens, they have to become so selfish about it, that you want, the more you learn, ooh, that's hard,
They have this very singular focus to do this one thing that they were born to do. And I'm going to give this very weird example, but you probably remember when I was working on Bonds of Blood and Silver and how many times I screamed and cried over the fact that I was put on this world to write this story, to tell this story. Nobody's going to stop me from doing it. I don't care if an agent buys, I was
there.
proper. Yeah, exactly. I mean, most of the viewers were not, so I was just giving them a little bit of context. But I believe that at certain points that book drove me to absolute madness and beyond, just because I felt that that story needed to come out. And so, and I'm not saying I didn't do any terrible or horrible things other than cry at you and stalk you all the time, I feel so terrible. I mean, if that's the worst I did, I can live with that, and you probably as well. But I can totally understand, if you dial that up with another 100, people can go absolutely,
of course,
nuts, crazy over what needs to be done.
When you look, so weirdly enough, I have a stick with me for a second. I have a fascination with American pro wrestling. I grew up watching it. I don't really watch as much of the product these days as I did when I was younger, but I still have this fascination with it because I believe there is a tremendous. You can learn so much about just storytelling in general by studying pro wrestling, and I could do a TED talk on why this is so important. and especially from the specifically from wrestling eras from roughly the early mid 1980s to roughly about 2000 2010, and that era like of wrestling is when it was at its peak form. It's when it became to the cultural zeitgeist, and when it was theater. It was, I mean, obviously it was soap opera for men is what they used to call it, but the storytelling aspects of it. But so because of my love of that time frame, sometimes when I'm working during the day, I put on like one of the YouTube like hour-long interview of like so and so with whatever famous wrestler, and they're talking about their glory days, the hits, the bads, the highs, and the lows of their career. I let that play in the background while I'm working. And the reason I bring that up, almost every single one of the famous ones, the ones that are really good, the ones that like hit the highest highs that you've like, because Hulk Hogan's name whether you watch wrestling or not, who Stone Cold Steve Austin is whether you watch wrestling or not, but when you start dealing with not the person, but not the character, but the person beneath it, and you start learning the addiction to painkillers that almost every single one of them had, the multiple divorces, the times they don't see their kids, the times that like they were in legal troubles because of like domestic violence or whatever the thing happened to be. But it's because of like they were so enraptured by the pursuit of excellence, the pursuit of being the best at this thing, of this business, and their peers and their loves and all this stuff, that they sacrificed everything else in their life, and sometimes they had to hit rock bottom to bounce back up. And a lot of them, like maybe they find religion, maybe they go through clean and sober programs, and they ditch the alcohol, the booze, the whatever their particular demons.
Yeah, get some solid therapy, sure.
But you have to look at there is a wake of pain in this heroic look at these sports figures, these characters, these living comic book characters, and it's just like any other artist and their art. What you sacrifice for your art, if you want to be great at something, you can be great at something. But the thing is, you have to then like live, breathe, eat, and shit this for that's what you do now. And if you're not willing to make that sacrifice, then the odds of ever being truly great at it. Now, I'm not saying popular. I'm saying great. I know plenty of popular people who got popular at a thing just by luck, right place, right time, whatever.
Of course, yeah. What was the saying? You don't need to be good at someone. It's about who you know.
Yeah, exactly. So, but
and other depressing thoughts.
Right, but to be great at something, you have to come at the sacrifice of other things that you love. And because when you become great at something, there is always going to be a psychology of, but I'm great at this and I deserve, the human mind can justify a lot of horrible things. And that's why a lot of pain starts to happen. Like when we go back to something like J.K. Rowling, she's the second, is she the second or the richest woman in entertainment? Is she just behind Oprah? Yeah, I think regardless, she's a billionaire. She's a billionaire. How do you tell a billionaire no? You can try to cancel her all day long. She's like, I don't care. There's people who still want my product, and people who will agree with me and tell me, no, Joanne, you're doing a great job. Everything you're saying is 100% true, and everybody needs to be stopping. So whatever the thing happens to be, you could just, you don't face the same reality that normal people do who pay their bills and do these certain things. So trying to cancel her doesn't really work.
And just to go back to the initial question behind all this, can you separate the art from the artist? I really like the Harry Potter stories, the books, just the foundation of what Harry Potter is. I enjoy that. I'm not even sorry. I mean, regardless of who she is isn't.
Here, quick pin in that. By the way, when I'm watching the palette, doing the palette on the screen, that little shadow work you did with that little metal piece, on the little V on the top, you did a great job there. The little highlight above, and the shadow light underneath it, to create a level of depth and dimension. I just want to throw that out. That's an excellent little touch that most people would just miss. You just take it for granted, but it's just highlight up top, little light at the bottom, and it creates all of a sudden boom depth. So really well done. I just want to call that out. Anyway, you were saying.
Yeah, no worries at all. When I worked on this, my thoughts really went back to the pencil drawing night, the one that we did a couple of weeks ago, and I basically applied everything I learned from that piece with the light and the shadow on the metal just on this one, but digitally, and it was so much easier. But yeah, thanks. I really enjoy Harry Potter, and I am completely separating the Harry Potter universe from who J.K. Rowling is or what she thinks, what she says. Honestly, I don't care what she says. The stories are cool. I enjoy the stories. And that might push me into a sort of a hypocrite area where, because I know that I don't do that with everyone. I know there are plenty of artists out there who I'm gonna say another very sensitive thing. Who use AI, for example, to create references. And for some reason, I really struggle there to then, enjoy the art. Last year I was at IMAG Art Festival in Paris, and a lot of these artists and developers were saying, okay, so in the first stages of the art development, of concept art, character art, whatever, they were generating images and from there they, started refining, and that's where the human labor came in. And I immediately had this sort of spider sense, this tingling feeling in my neck saying, I suddenly don't care about you all that much anymore. So it is very hypocrite in a way, when I say I like Harry Potter, I don't care much about Rowling, but at the same time completely cancel out artists who are, by the way, way better than I am at what they do. But still, I sort of struggle with accepting them as artists because I know they use AI.
So I have thoughts within thoughts with what you just said. So I'll try to break it down and like. So the fast version was like, when it comes to something like what you said about like of course I liked Harry Potter, like, but I didn't love it. I've never loved it. I'm not trying to be one of those guys. I've never loved it. I was like, but it's one of those like, because of like, of course it was the popular thing. It was the zeitgeist. Everyone was talking, when's the next book? When's the next thing? Blah, blah, blah. Like, oh my God, like, I can't believe the Snape died. I can't believe this, I can't believe they killed, like it was kind of a big gasp shock. It was a very slow version of the original season of Game of Thrones, because it was like water cooler talk whenever a new book came out, because everybody was talking about it. And that part is cool. When it comes to her and what she says, like, again, as a straight white guy, I don't have a dog in the fight the way that some of my trans friends do. So when I talk to them, because like I want to know what their thoughts happen to be, and some of my friends are like, "Fucker." Some of my friends are like, they're like, I try to understand what she's saying, but like I think I've grown past her, and you try to listen to what I want to hear their voices and what their voices are saying, and it helps. Like at the end of the day, I'm not the one affected by it, so I try to like have fewer dogs in that particular fight, and I try to understand the people that do. I'm not going to like lament my time with Harry Potter. It's something I listened to and read and all this stuff years and years and years. Cool. But I haven't picked it up since, and I have no desire to. I've also never been a Potterhead. Like I don't want my own wand. I don't need to play the video game. I don't want to go out and play Quidditch. Right. Exactly. Well, sure, of course. But I also enjoy those stories. I also enjoy other like, coming of age stories of like, a variety of different places as well. So like it was a place at its time, and I will put it on the shelf the way I put like Bill Cosby on the shelf and a few other things on the shelf. Like it was a time and a place. I learned what I learned from this thing. However, like maybe I have moved past my time with that thing. As for the second part, when it came to the AI reference thing, I know what you're saying. My only counterpoint to that would be when an artist will grab a reference that they did not take the photo, they did not pay the model, they just found a photo and they're using that as a reference. So again, on paper, you're taking something that's not yours and then making something that is yours based off of something that is not yours. And you're saying, but it's just a photo, it's just a reference, it's not a big deal. Everybody does it. And that's how it starts. It's like, did you hire the model? Did you hire the photo? Did you set up the lighting? Did you do the thing? Did you create everything from the ground up? Did you create that reference photo? My guess is no. Okay, but no, I composited. I took the head from this guy, I made a chimera, a head from this guy, the background from this place,
the
leg from here, and put it all together. Yeah, well, guess what? You just did what AI did, but slower. And that is... and that's where it stings. That's where it hurts, And again, I'm not pro AI, but I am anti hypocrisy.
Yes.
So I am that guy. Like,
I will see myself out then. Thank you.
But no, but it's just painful to hear for the first time. Again, it's what was done to us in the military all the time.
Will I ever use AI myself? No,
I've never found a reason to use it personally, but I'm not saying I won't ever use it, but I have not needed it yet. And, but I don't know what the future is going to bring, because again, these are tools that like, maybe they become more, what's the word I'm using? User friendly. Maybe they become more, we ethical in the future. I don't know.
Yeah, the ethical AI discussion. There are already plenty of platforms who sell themselves as ethical AI platforms. My only problem with it is that even that machine, like the way the machine learns, whether or not that has been done through stuff that was donated or that was paid for, the technology itself will always be based on something that was not ethically responsible. So, and at a certain point, it's got to be like, you know, the slavery argument or the Caravaggio thing that we said at the beginning. At a certain point, how long ago must this stuff be in order for us to look past that? Like, now it's all very recent. You know, we have all seen this happen. We have all seen the data sheets, you know, gone public, and we all... It's all still so fresh in our memories that we learned that whatever AI is capable of doing is based on stuff that was not theirs to use. I don't know how that's going to be in 10, 20, 50 years when we have completely forgotten about the fact that, you know, that happened and, oh, look how useful it is now. I think in essence, AI just skips the art part because, you know, art is pain, and you don't get any. You can't polish something without friction.
Right,
you know?
right. Again,
so you don't learn.
When it comes to the AI, I do think it's going to, like, it will become a point, like, people love to forget the past. Again, you bring up the thing about Caravaggio. I forgot all about that. You know, I forgot all about, like, Picasso's thing. It's like one of those, like, it's just, I've got my own things in my own life, my own things to deal with, blah blah blah. So you don't, like, I don't have, like. It's kind of like when I tell my son, stop putting so many things on your desktop. You're making your computer remember all these things at once. Like putting your, and my desktop, it gets smaller as my desktop is filled with 50 years of knowledge. I can't add new things to just keep up.
I don't have time for this.
I've got 1980s cartoons that I have to keep in my head at all times for whatever reason. So I was singing the theme song to, like, He-Man yesterday, because I don't know why. It just was like at least the tune. There wasn't a song, but, like, you know, I was, like, just humming the tune. Regardless, the art and the artist will always be a very much a sticking point for a lot of people. And the question is, like, you know, the original question was, you know, can you separate the artist from the art from the artist? But I think the question should be refined a little bit to, like, should you?
Yeah, I was thinking the same.
And
thing.
the answer to that answer is, like, you have to. You can throw the baby out with the bathwater. You 100% can. Nope, artist did blank. I'm done. I'm out, and so be it. And it's great. And you can do that too. Like, part of me does that as well. I get that. Like, if someone messes up so bad, like, I'm just done with them. But you don't realize people have no real honest clue about how influenced they are by the art world, the things they see around them all the time that just trickles up and comes out of them in ways that you don't even possibly realize. Like, your art is inspired by something that you may have seen where you didn't even realize it. Remember, I was working on the whatever logo when I was working on that one thing for my my reader for the Hammer, which is the chapter titles, and I realized I basically created, like, a chapter logo title that kind of like the band Ghosts thing, like, and it was that without even intention, like, nope, I need to go back to ground because I just realized that this looks kind of like their work. I'm not trying to replicate that. That wasn't on purpose. It stuck in my head, obviously, and so it started coming out whether I wanted it or not. I'm like, okay, that was unintentional. So the art that you have consumed over the years is in you somewhere, and it will come out in some way or another. So you have to you have to kind of weird way separate the art from the artist. Don't forgive them. You don't, especially if it's bad, you know. If they're good artists,
if it's a legitimately bad thing, you know, like somebody kills someone.
We always focus on the bad, exactly. But, right? But, like, you know, like, it's it's in you whether you want to or not. It's going to come out one way or the other. So you have to kind of say, I don't support person X, but their art meant something to the world, and that is. You can't delete it. It's not a digital file. You can't delete memories. It will live on in the hearts and the minds of people, and it will be expressed through their works and their arts and their creativity, and it will come out one way or the other. So you can't really get rid of it, but you can understand. It's like history. Don't forget history, but don't, like, live in it either. You have to understand it. You have to, like, give it context. You have to remember it so that you can move forward and, like, try not to repeat it, you know. So that's what this old man thinks.
Have you ever seen a piece of art and gotten really angry at what you saw? So, I don't know, art that made you angry, you know, and I'm not even talking about the artist at all, like, just the work, like, felt a really intense emotion because you were looking at it, you know, it was just something that the piece of art invoked in you.
like, okay, actual physical art, like I felt awe. I have felt little bits of fear. I don't think I've ever felt angry. But that being said, from like traditional art, like a painting or a picture or something like that. Now I have watched like a movie or a show that, you know, this is a piece of art, especially if it's a movie, it's an art house kind of movie. And what it's trying to express, I've gotten angry about but for a variety of reasons. Maybe I didn't connect with the message, or maybe I felt the message was ham-fisted or whatever. I felt that, but why do you ask?
Well, my mind just went back to another old painting, Who's Afraid of a Little Yellow and Blue, I think it's called. It is a canvas of, I think, 8 or 10 meters long or wide. And like 90% of that canvas is just painted red. And there's this stripe of yellow and a very tiny stripe of blue. And throughout history, that painting has been destroyed by people who got so incredibly mad with it. Because how can you call this art? And how, like, people got absolutely triggered by just a piece of canvas. And I just thought it was very interesting because...
Okay. So I pulled up a picture of what I'm talking about, and I guess they did different variations thereof. And it's like, well, one, it's brilliant.
It is, yeah. Especially for its age.
It's like, well, they also picked like the perfect shade of red to create anger.
Yes, exactly, 100%.
And like, and those little pieces of yellow and pieces of blue, like, and of course, what always happens is, and they call this art. Like everybody who studies art in the beginning of the years, it's kind of like Jackson Pollock. I think he's a genius, but when you start looking like this is splat, like this is crap. Like anybody can do this, and then but then you study a little art a little bit further. Like, no, not anybody can do this. This actually takes technique and style. Then after you study a little bit further, like, this is crap. You come back.
We need to remember this one because this is exactly the topic that I have in mind for my next video, in which I made. You already have seen it. The medieval, the bunny and the mouse riding the bird.
Yes.
And
yes,
exactly that discussion. Like every kid can draw this versus no, it's art. I want to dive into that in the next episode. Okay, we took a huge detour here, and we've actually come to the point where we need to ask the viewers their question. Like, we need to engage. I'm terrible.
Well, did they ever engage back with us? Did they ever say no? Like, I remember asking something the last time, and I don't know if I ever got any questions.
Surprisingly, the last video, I thought it was very, very good, and it got 10 views.
Well, that was all, folks. We had a good run.
It makes me weep. I will not draw any conclusions yet, but it's fascinating to see which episodes do relatively well and which ones just completely die out. I cannot put my finger on it, but anyway.
Well, if you put the title AI discussion, like it'll get views. If you put like my belief in art, or it's like it's the algorithm, you know. It's like right now everything is we live in a clickbait world, unfortunately.
Okay, so we're gonna make a rage bait title for this one. Don't sell J.K. Rowling art.
You kind of have to, you know, like, you know, it's like, well, honestly, separating the art from the artist, that by itself is like gets people like, well, what do you mean, you know? So.
Okay, so the question we want to ask the audience is,
what emotions have you felt from art? Do you believe you can separate the art from the artist? Have you? What are your thoughts on that? I mean, this is like ultimately this is a discussion. So if you happen to see the video and you're all the way to the end, put in your thoughts in the comments, or just send Sandy a direct email. If you hit me up, I'll give you her direct email. Don't worry, you can just bother her.
Wow, thanks.
You're welcome.
Yeah, I think this leads us to the point where we are actually having to wrap up.
Yep.
But thanks for sharing your thoughts again.
Thanks for having me.
And I knew this one kind of, I mean, we didn't end up like fighting each other or really arguing, but I realized it was a bit of a tricky subject, but I think it was a good conversation actually. So thanks.
I enjoyed it.
Awesome. I look forward to having you on in the next one.
Well, thanks for having me. All right,
thanks.
Do your sign out. Make it good.
All right, well, thank you so much for watching all the way to the end. If you're still here, thanks so much. Don't forget to hit the like and subscribe button. It would really, really help my journey as an artist and spread the word. Gib keeps talking. It's really annoying.
And buy my books.
Buy the books. Buy my books. Buy Gibby's books if you have to.
Buy my books.
They're actually good. They're actually really, really, really funny. Especially the villains books. I hear a lot of people say that they laugh about those books. Oh, and Ages of Mortal, because apparently a lot of Dutch people know the Ages of Mortal books.
Baffles me.
Anyway, go buy his books and hit the like and subscribe button. I'll see you in the next video, guys. Take care.